Have you ever wondered why, no matter how hard you try, you still feel like you're running behind someone else's shadow? Maybe it's your friend who just bought a brand new car, your coworker who got a promotion, or someone on social media showing off another perfect morning routine, and suddenly your life just feels small. Here's the truth most people never talk about. What if the biggest obstacle holding you back isn't your lack of skills, or luck, or even hard work, but simply this habit of measuring your life with someone else's ruler? And what if breaking this habit could totally change the way you see yourself and your future, starting today? In this video, you're going to discover why the endless comparison game is secretly robbing you of happiness and growth, and you'll learn how to finally escape it. I'll share real stories, surprising research, and some brutally honest truths, plus practical steps that anyone can use right away, no matter where you're starting from. You'll see how the world's most successful people learn to tune out the noise and focus on their own lane, and you'll get some simple tools to do the same. If you've ever felt stuck, exhausted, or like you're never enough, you're about to find out exactly why and how to flip the script for good. Stay with me, because in a few minutes, you'll see a side of yourself you might not even know exists yet, and I promise, it's way more powerful than you think. Let's be honest, it's almost impossible not to compare ourselves these days. You wake up, check your phone, and there it is, someone else's highlight reel, right in your face. Your old classmate just launched a business. Your neighbor's kid got into medical school. Your favorite YouTuber hit 1 million subscribers, and suddenly, your own achievements seem to shrink overnight. There's a funny thing about comparison. It doesn't matter how much you have. There's always someone who seems to have more, and somehow, they're always just a swipe away. You might tell yourself, I'm happy for them, but deep down, there's that sting, that voice whispering, why not me? And the more you scroll, the louder that voice gets until you can barely hear your own. Scientists have actually studied this. In a recent survey, people who spent more than 2 hours a day on social media were twice as likely to report feeling anxious or depressed compared to those who spent less. Why? Because we're constantly bombarded with everyone else's wins, their vacations, their new cars, their smiling families, and we end up feeling like we're the only ones struggling. But here's the part no one wants to say out loud: you're not seeing the whole picture. You see the polished photos, the filtered videos, the perfect captions, but you never see the arguments behind closed doors, the sleepless nights, or the quiet moments of doubt that every single person faces. Let me tell you a quick story. A friend of mine, let's call her Sarah, spent years scrolling through social media every morning. She'd see her friends buying homes, traveling, getting married, and it got to the point where she dreaded even opening her phone. She started feeling like she was falling behind in life, like everyone else was living while she was just existing. Her confidence dropped, her motivation tanked, and she started doubting every choice she made. Sound familiar? Because I promise, almost everyone you know has felt that way at least once, even the people you're comparing yourself to right now. The thing is, comparison doesn't just hurt your mood, it can actually stop you from taking action. When you're busy watching everyone else's progress, you start questioning your own path. You lose sight of what matters to you, and you end up wasting energy trying to chase someone else's dreams instead of building your own. It's like running a race where you keep turning your head to look at the runners next to you. Every time you look away from your own lane, you slow down, lose focus, and before you know it, you've drifted off course completely. And if you're thinking, but isn't a little competition good for me? Sure, a bit of healthy competition can push you to grow, but that's not what's happening on social media or in most real-life situations. What we're dealing with is a constant, never-ending comparison game where the rules keep changing and nobody ever truly wins. Instead of motivating you, this kind of comparison just leaves you feeling smaller, weaker, and stuck. So why do we do it? Psychologists say it's wired into us. Our brains are designed to measure, to compare, to figure out where we fit in the group. Back in the day, that helped us survive. But now, in a world of likes and follows and endless updates, it just leaves us exhausted and overwhelmed. Maybe you've noticed this yourself. The more you compare, the less satisfied you feel, even if nothing else in your life changes. You could get a raise, pass an exam, hit a new personal best, and still feel like it's not enough, simply because you saw someone else do more. And let's be real, some people out there are pretending. Not everyone posting about their perfect life is actually living it. A lot of what you see online is curated, edited, and sometimes totally fake. Think about that for a second. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's carefully crafted highlight reel. It's like judging your whole life based on a single bad day while they're only showing you their best moments. Here's what happens when you let comparison take over. You stop appreciating what you have. You stop celebrating your own wins, big or small. You forget how far you've come, and you miss out on all the good things in your own life, just because you're too busy looking sideways. So let me ask you, when was the last time you really looked at your own progress without thinking about anyone else? When was the last time you felt proud of yourself, not because you beat someone else, but because you did something hard, something meaningful, something just for you? Comparison is a trap. It's designed to keep you stuck, feeling behind, never satisfied. But the good news is you can step out of it. You can choose to focus on your own path, your own growth, and your own happiness, starting right now. Stay tuned, because in the next part, we're going to dig even deeper. You'll see why chasing someone else's life never leads to real fulfillment, and you'll learn how to start building a life that's actually yours. Let's get real for a minute, because this is where most people get stuck, but nobody really talks about it. Chasing other people's dreams doesn't just waste your time, it actually steals your peace of mind. Have you ever noticed how drained you feel after scrolling through endless posts or hearing about someone else's big win, especially when you're having a rough day? That's not just in your head. It's a real mental and emotional tax that you pay every single time you start measuring your life against someone else's. Let's say you're working hard at your job, and your friend suddenly announces a promotion on social media, new title, bigger salary, more responsibility. You smile, you say congratulations, but then the spiral starts. Should I be doing more? Am I falling behind? Is what I have not enough anymore? Before you know it, you're doubting your own choices, questioning your self-worth, and maybe even resenting things you used to enjoy. And it's not just your job, right? Maybe it's seeing someone travel to places you can't afford right now, or watching people online buy new cars, show off new gadgets, or announce new relationships. Suddenly, what you have starts to feel smaller even if you were totally fine with it 5 minutes ago. The sneaky part is, this kind of thinking never ends. Even if you catch up to one person, there's always someone else doing better, and the finish line keeps moving further away. It's a race with no end, and honestly, nobody ever feels like they've truly won. Studies show that people who constantly compare themselves to others are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and even burnout. In one study, workers who focused on outperforming their colleagues reported lower job satisfaction and higher stress, even if they were actually successful in their careers. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops. No matter how fast you go, you never actually get anywhere. And the emotional cost? It's huge. You start to lose touch with your own values and dreams. You become so busy chasing after what looks impressive to others that you forget to ask yourself what actually matters to you. You might pick a career, a partner, or even a hobby, not because you love it, but because you think it will finally make you feel like you measure up. Here's a true story that hit me hard. There was a guy named Mark who spent years trying to live up to his older brother. His brother was always the golden child, top of his class, star athlete, successful career. Mark worked non-stop to catch up, copying every move, from what he studied in college to the jobs he applied for. But instead of feeling proud or fulfilled, Mark felt empty. Every time his brother hit a new milestone, it was like moving the goalposts, and no matter what Mark achieved, it never felt like enough. It wasn't until he hit rock bottom with burnout and stress that he finally realized he was building a life that wasn't even his. It happens to so many of us, in big ways and small. Maybe you're not copying someone's entire life, but you still feel this urge to keep up, to show the world you're doing well, even if it means sacrificing your own happiness or health. Let's not forget about imposter syndrome, that nagging feeling that you're never quite good enough, that someday someone will find you out. When you chase after someone else's path, you're basically telling yourself that your own journey isn't valid, and that's a recipe for constant self-doubt. And what about the decisions you make? When you're always worried about keeping up with others, you end up making choices for the wrong reasons. Maybe you buy things you can't afford, say yes to jobs you don't want, or stick with a relationship that doesn't really make you happy, just because you think it looks good from the outside. Here's the wild part. Nobody else is really paying as much attention as you think. People are too busy worrying about their own lives to notice if you're winning or not. Most of the pressure is coming from inside your own head, and that's actually good news because it means you have the power to change it. Think about it. How many moments have you missed out on because you were too busy looking sideways? How much energy have you wasted worrying about what other people think instead of focusing on what truly lights you up inside? There's a better way. Instead of chasing someone else's dreams, you can choose to chase your own. When you stop living for approval and start living for yourself, things start to change. You'll start to notice the little things that make you happy, the passions that come naturally, the small wins that actually matter. So, what's the real cost of chasing others? It's your joy, your confidence, your sense of purpose. But the good news is you can get all of that back the moment you decide to run your own race. Stick around, because up next, we'll dig into what it really means to compete with yourself and how that shift in focus can change everything about the way you live. Let's flip the script for a minute. What if I told you that the only person you ever need to beat is the version of yourself from yesterday? I know, it sounds simple, but it's actually life-changing when you really put it into practice. Most people spend their whole lives trying to win against others, but the truth is, the most successful and fulfilled people out there are too busy trying to outdo themselves, not anyone else. Think about athletes for a second. Sure, they're racing against others, but ask any champion what really drives them, and most will tell you it's about setting new personal records, breaking their own limits, and becoming better than they were last season. Take Michael Phelps, for example. He didn't become the most decorated Olympian by worrying about what every other swimmer was doing. He focused on shaving off fractions of a second from his own times every single day. He studied his own weaknesses and strengths, and he trained to improve them one tiny step at a time. The same goes for anyone who's made it big in business, art, or even just living a happier life. The real magic happens when you turn your focus inward, asking yourself, how can I be a little better today than I was yesterday? Maybe you want to get healthier, learn a new skill, or just handle stress with a little more patience. It's not about making a giant leap overnight. It's about stacking up small wins, day after day, until you look back and realize just how far you've come. Let me share a story that proves this. There was a guy named Jason, not a celebrity, just a regular guy who wanted to run a marathon. He wasn't the fastest, and at first he could barely finish a mile without stopping. But instead of comparing himself to elite runners, he set his sights on a simple goal: run just a little farther each week. Sometimes he made it, sometimes he didn't, but he always asked, did I push myself a little more than last time? 6 months later, he ran the marathon. He didn't win the race, but he beat his own best time by more than an hour. That's real victory. It's easy to forget that your real competition is never the person next to you. It's your own doubts, your own fears, your own habits. The more energy you waste worrying about someone else's journey, the less you have left for your own. Now, here's the fun part. You actually get to decide what winning looks like for you. Maybe it's being a little more patient with your kids or finally finishing that project you've been putting off. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting or getting up early to go for a walk, even when you don't feel like it. Your finish line doesn't have to look like anyone else's, and that's what makes life interesting. Science even backs this up. Studies show that people who set personal goals and track their own progress are more likely to feel satisfied and motivated, even if nobody else ever notices what they've done. When you measure yourself against your own growth, you start to feel proud of small improvements. You stop obsessing over being the best, and you start enjoying the process of becoming your best. Have you ever surprised yourself by doing something you once thought was impossible? Maybe you passed a tough exam, learned to cook a tricky recipe, or finally stuck to a habit that always used to trip you up. That feeling, that rush of pride, is what happens when you focus on being better than your old self, not better than someone else. Here's something you can try today. Think about one thing you'd like to improve, just for you. It could be anything, big or small. Now, set a goal that's just a bit higher than what you did yesterday. Write it down, and tomorrow, see if you can go just a little further. Don't worry about how fast anyone else is moving. All that matters is your own progress. Because at the end of the day, the only race that matters is the one you're running with yourself. And the best part is, every time you move forward, no matter how small the step, you win. So next time you catch yourself comparing your journey to someone else's, pause for a second. Remind yourself, your only real competition is the person you see in the mirror, and every step you take to grow is a victory worth celebrating. Stick around, because in the next part, we'll talk about how finding clarity in what you actually want can help you break free from all those outside expectations, and finally set your own direction in life. Let's talk about something nobody teaches in school, but it changes everything: self-awareness and clarity. Most people go through life like they're on autopilot, just doing what everyone else does, following the same old routine, and wondering why they never feel satisfied. But when you actually stop to ask yourself, what do I want? What matters most to me? That's when things start to shift in a big way. Here's the problem. Most of us are so used to living for other people's approval, we forget to listen to ourselves. Maybe it's your parents pushing you toward a safe job, or your friends all getting married, or your social feed convincing you that your life should look a certain way. After a while, it's easy to lose sight of your own voice. You might even wake up one day and realize you don't really know what you want anymore, only what you're supposed to want. But self-awareness is the skill that cuts through all that noise. It's the ability to pause, look inside, and be totally honest with yourself. It means knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, what lights you up, and what drains your energy. It's about understanding your true values, not just what looks good on a resume or sounds impressive at a party. Research actually shows that people who have a clear sense of who they are and what they value are happier and more successful, not just in their careers, but in their relationships and their health too. When you know what you want, you stop chasing what doesn't matter, and you start building a life that fits you, not just everyone else. Here's a quick exercise that can make a huge difference. Take out a notebook, or just open a note on your phone. Write down 3 things you genuinely love doing, the stuff that makes you lose track of time, or that you look forward to even on a busy day. Then, write down 3 things that always leave you feeling stressed or drained, even if everyone else thinks they're great. Now, ask yourself, are you spending more time on the things you love or the things that exhaust you? It sounds simple, but most people never actually do this, and that's why they stay stuck. I know someone who used to work a high-powered job in finance, long hours, big paycheck, lots of perks. On the outside, it looked like success, but inside, she was miserable. Every day felt heavy, like she was wearing someone else's clothes. It wasn't until she sat down and really asked herself, what do I actually want? That she realized she loved helping people solve real problems, not just crunching numbers for profit. She switched careers, took a pay cut, and started working for a nonprofit. The crazy part? She says she's never felt more alive or more at peace with herself. That's the power of clarity. When you know what you want, you can start saying no to things that don't fit, even if everyone else thinks you're crazy. You can let go of old dreams that were never really yours and make space for new ones that actually feel right. Another benefit, clarity helps you make better decisions faster. When you're not constantly second-guessing yourself or worrying about what other people think, you can move forward with confidence. You stop feeling pulled in a million directions, and you start building momentum one step at a time. Here's a fact you might not know. Studies show that people with a clear sense of purpose actually live longer, healthier lives. They recover faster from setbacks, and they're less likely to get stuck in negative thinking. It's like having a built-in GPS for your life, one that helps you find your way back whenever you get lost. But here's the catch. Clarity doesn't just appear overnight. It takes practice. It means checking in with yourself regularly, asking hard questions, and being willing to change your mind when something doesn't fit anymore. It means listening to your gut, even when your head is full of doubts or everyone around you is shouting advice. So next time you feel overwhelmed by choices or lost in the crowd, remember, your life isn't a group project. You get to decide what matters most, and you get to change your mind as you grow. If you want more clarity, start with small steps. Try new things, pay attention to what feels good and what doesn't, and give yourself permission to let go of things that just don't fit. Over time, you'll build a life that feels more and more like your own. So, as we move on, keep this in mind. The more you know yourself, the easier it is to ignore all the outside noise and focus on building something that actually makes you happy. Next up, we'll dig into why breaking the cycle of seeking approval from others is the next big step toward true freedom and happiness. There's something almost addictive about getting a thumbs up, a like, or a compliment from someone else. Even if you don't want to admit it, you probably know the feeling, waiting for your phone to light up after you post something online, or hoping someone notices your new haircut or your work on a project. It's that rush of approval, the tiny hit of happiness when someone else gives you the nod. But what happens when your self-worth starts to depend on those moments? Most people don't realize how much of their day is shaped by the need for outside validation. Maybe you dress a certain way because you think it'll impress your friends, or you stay late at work hoping your boss will say, "Good job." Sometimes you even find yourself making choices not because you love them, but because you hope they'll earn applause from others. The more you rely on external approval, the harder it gets to trust your own judgment. This cycle can be exhausting. You start chasing likes, compliments, and gold stars, but it's never enough. No matter how much praise you get, it fades fast, and soon you're looking for your next fix. Over time, you start to lose sight of who you really are, and your mood can swing up and down, all depending on what others say or do. Social media is a big part of the problem. Studies show that every time you get a like or a heart online, your brain releases a tiny shot of dopamine, the same chemical that makes you feel good when you eat your favorite food. But just like sugar, it wears off quickly and you start craving more. That's why people can get hooked on checking their phones, sometimes hundreds of times a day, always searching for the next little burst of validation. But there's a cost to living this way. When your confidence is tied to other people's opinions, you become easy to control. A bad comment or a lack of attention can ruin your whole day. You might stop taking risks or sharing your true thoughts just because you're scared of being judged or ignored. It's like building your house on sand. Every little wave can shake your whole foundation. Here's a story that shows how real this can get. There was a woman named Jen who used to be glued to her phone. She posted every meal, every workout, every small win, and waited for the flood of likes and nice comments. At first, it felt amazing. But after a while, she realized that her happiness depended on what other people thought. If a post didn't get enough attention, she'd feel anxious or even embarrassed. One day, she decided to take a break from social media just to see what would happen. At first, she felt restless and out of place, but after a few weeks, something strange happened. She started to enjoy her life more, even without an audience. She found confidence in her own choices, not just in other people's reactions. If you want to break free from this validation addiction, you have to start giving yourself the approval you're looking for. That means noticing your own progress, cheering for your small wins, and being proud of who you are, even when nobody else is watching. It means doing things because they matter to you, not just because you want to impress the crowd. A great way to start is by setting little daily challenges for yourself. Maybe it's finishing a task you've been putting off, or trying something new, or speaking your mind even if you're nervous. At the end of the day, take a moment to notice what you did well and give yourself some real credit. Over time, you'll start to build a sense of self-worth that isn't shaken by every like or comment. It also helps to spend time with people who value you for who you are, not just what you achieve. Real friends and family will support you even when you mess up or when you're just being your plain old self. Those are the relationships that matter most. Research backs this up too. Studies show that people who focus on internal validation, meaning they trust their own values and judgments, tend to have stronger mental health, better relationships, and a greater sense of freedom in life. Imagine how different your days would feel if you stopped worrying about what everyone else thinks. You'd have more time, more energy, and way less stress. You could try new things, make mistakes, and still feel good about yourself, just because you know you're doing your best. Remember, your value doesn't come from applause, likes, or someone else's approval. It comes from knowing who you are and standing by yourself, even when the world is silent. That's real confidence, and it's worth more than any amount of validation you can get from the outside. Coming up, we'll talk about how to set goals and build a personal blueprint that's actually designed for you, not just for the people watching. Every person has a different set of dreams, skills, and values. So why do so many people end up living almost identical lives? The answer is simple. Most people never take the time to figure out what they truly want. Instead, they borrow their goals from parents, friends, or whatever seems popular at the time. But if you want a life that feels right on the inside, not just impressive on the outside, you need your own personal blueprint. A blueprint is like a map for building a house. If you just copy someone else's plan, your house might look fine at first, but pretty soon you'll realize the kitchen's in the wrong spot. The doors don't open the way you want, and it just doesn't feel like home. It's the same with your life. If your dreams aren't really yours, you'll always feel a bit out of place, no matter how successful you look to others. So, how do you create a blueprint that actually fits you? It starts by asking real questions and being honest with your answers. What makes you excited to get out of bed? What kind of problems do you actually enjoy solving? If money, status, or other people's opinions didn't matter, what would you spend your days doing? These aren't easy questions, but they're worth asking, even if the answers surprise you. Sometimes the process can feel confusing, and that's okay. Most people go through phases where their goals change as they grow. Maybe you thought you wanted a certain job or lifestyle, but when you got close, it didn't feel right anymore. That's not failure. That's just learning more about who you are. It's normal for blueprints to be updated as you discover new things about yourself. A funny thing happens when you start building from your own plans. Life gets easier. You make decisions faster, you're less stressed, and you bounce back from setbacks more quickly. You start to care less about what everyone else is doing because you're too busy working on something that actually matters to you. Here's a little exercise to help you get started. Grab a piece of paper and draw 2 columns. On one side, write down all the things you're doing mainly because other people expect you to, or because that's what people do. On the other side, list the things you do just because they feel right, even if nobody else really understands. Compare the 2 columns. Which side do you want to grow, and which side would you be okay letting go of? You might find that some of your biggest dreams actually come from someone else's expectations. That's not a bad thing, but it's important to notice. Once you see it clearly, you can decide whether to keep chasing those dreams or to set them down and make space for new ones that really fit. Building your own blueprint isn't about ignoring good advice or never listening to others. Sometimes people who care about you will have great ideas or spot strengths you haven't noticed. The key is to take what fits and leave the rest. You're the only person who has to live with your choices every day, so it makes sense to trust your own gut above everything else. Some people worry that focusing on their own dreams is selfish. But think about it. When you're happy and energized by what you're doing, you have more to give to everyone around you. You become a better friend, partner, or parent just by being true to yourself. There's also a lot of power in writing your goals down, not just in your head, but on paper where you can see them. Studies show that people who write down specific, meaningful goals are way more likely to achieve them. Your brain loves having a clear target to aim at. Try this. Write down 3 goals that actually make you feel excited or a little bit nervous, not because someone told you to want them, but because you know deep down they're yours. Put them somewhere you can see every day. Check in with yourself once in a while and update your goals as you grow. When your blueprint matches who you are, every step you take feels more like progress and less like pressure. You might not move as fast as others, but you'll be moving in the right direction, and that makes all the difference. Next, we'll dive into resilience and bouncing back, and how focusing on your own journey makes you stronger every time you face a setback. No matter how carefully you plan, life has a way of throwing curveballs you never saw coming. You might get rejected from a job, lose a friendship, or face a tough setback just when you thought you were making progress. It can be tempting to look around and wonder why everyone else seems to have it easier. But the truth is, everyone faces hard times. The difference is how you respond when things don't go your way. Resilience isn't about never feeling down or pretending everything's fine. It's about bouncing back, learning from your struggles, and growing stronger every time you get knocked off course. People who focus on their own journey are usually better at this because they're less worried about appearances and more interested in real progress. Think about the story of Thomas Edison. He's famous for inventing the light bulb, but what most people forget is that he failed thousands of times before getting it right. When asked about all his failures, Edison said he didn't fail. He just found 1,000 ways that didn't work. His focus wasn't on being the first or the best compared to others. It was about learning and improving step by step. Or look at Oprah Winfrey. She was told early in her career that she wasn't fit for television. She faced rejection and criticism, but instead of giving up, she used those experiences to get stronger. She found her own style, her own voice, and built a career that inspired millions. That kind of strength comes from knowing yourself. and believing your journey matters even when nobody else is cheering. Every setback is a chance to learn something about yourself. Maybe you didn't get the result you wanted, but you figured out what doesn't work, or you found a new direction you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Resilience grows each time you decide to get back up, even when it's hard, even when you feel like quitting. Comparison can make setbacks feel even worse. If you're always watching others, it's easy to think you're the only one struggling, or that your mistakes mean you're falling behind. But here's the reality. Everyone has their own private battles. The people you admire most have probably failed more times than you can count. They just didn't stop trying. Research shows that resilient people don't waste much time blaming themselves or worrying about what others think. Instead, they ask, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? This mindset helps them recover faster and bounce back stronger. You don't have to be born tough to be resilient. It's a skill you build, one challenge at a time. Start by noticing how you talk to yourself after something goes wrong. Do you beat yourself up, or do you treat yourself like a friend who needs encouragement? Being kind to yourself isn't just nice, it actually makes you more likely to try again. Sometimes, the hardest part is just taking that first step forward after a setback. Even a small step counts. Maybe you revise your plan, reach out for help, or just decide to try again tomorrow. Every step adds up, and before you know it, you're moving forward again. Over time, focusing on your own journey helps you bounce back with more confidence. You stop measuring your progress by someone else's timeline, and you start to appreciate your own strength. The more you practice resilience, the less afraid you'll be of failure, because you'll know you can handle whatever comes your way. Coming up next, we'll talk about why learning from your own mistakes, instead of just copying others, is a secret weapon for real growth and success. Everyone wants life to go according to plan, but real growth often comes from the unexpected twists and turns. The people who truly succeed are not always the smartest or the fastest, but the ones who learn from their own experiences and keep moving forward, no matter what happens. Adaptability is about staying open to change, adjusting your path when needed, and using every lesson as fuel to get stronger. Imagine someone who refuses to change, even when the world around them is shifting. They hold on to old ways, stubbornly repeating the same mistakes, and wonder why things never improve. Now, think about someone who sees a setback or a mistake as a chance to try something new. They look at what happened, learn what they can, and move forward with fresh ideas. Which person do you think is going to get farther in the long run? A great example of adaptability is Henry Ford. He didn't invent the car, but he completely changed the way cars were built by learning from early failures and constantly improving his process. When his first businesses failed, he didn't quit. Instead, he paid attention to what went wrong, listened to his team, and made changes that changed the world of manufacturing forever. His success wasn't about copying others, it was about learning from his own journey and being willing to grow. Helen Keller is another inspiring example. Despite being blind and deaf from a young age, she never stopped trying to learn new ways to connect with the world. She worked with her teacher, tried new methods, and didn't let setbacks stop her progress. Her entire life became a story of adaptability and the courage to keep learning, no matter how hard things got. Adapting doesn't mean giving up on your goals or your values. It means being flexible about how you reach them. Sometimes the path you plan just isn't working, and that's okay. The ability to shift gears, try new strategies, or change your mind is what keeps you growing, even when things get tough. There's actually research showing that people who view mistakes as learning opportunities are more creative, happier, and more successful in the long run. They're not afraid to step out of their comfort zone because they trust themselves to handle whatever comes next. They don't see failure as the end, but as a valuable part of their journey. You can practice adaptability by asking yourself a few simple questions whenever you hit a roadblock. What did I learn from this experience? Is there a different way I could try? Who can I ask for advice or support? Even just taking a breath and stepping back for a moment can help you see new options you might have missed. The truth is, your journey will never be a straight line. Plans will change, unexpected things will happen, and you'll have to adjust. The people who grow the most are the ones who stay curious and keep learning from every twist and turn instead of getting stuck on how things should have been. You don't need to have everything figured out before you start. Just be willing to try, to learn, and to adapt along the way. With every lesson you pick up, you become more prepared for whatever comes next. The more you learn from your own journey, the stronger, wiser, and more confident you become. Next, we'll dive into finding passion and purpose, and how turning your focus inward can help you unlock what truly drives you. When you focus on yourself instead of everyone else, you start to notice what actually makes you come alive. Passion isn't just about having a hobby or chasing excitement for a week or two. It's that deep, lasting energy that makes even hard work feel worthwhile. Purpose is knowing that what you're doing matters not just for others, but for you. Some people spend years searching for their passion because they're looking for something flashy or dramatic, but often passion is quieter. It shows up when you lose track of time doing something, or when you finish a task and feel a little spark inside, even if nobody else notices. Maybe it's helping a friend solve a problem, writing stories, building things with your hands, or teaching others what you know. Helen Keller, who couldn't see or hear, found her purpose in learning and helping others understand that even the hardest challenges can be overcome. She didn't let the world tell her what she could or couldn't do. Instead, she focused on what made her feel alive, and she built a life that inspired millions. Finding your passion often means trying lots of new things and paying attention to what feels good and what doesn't. If you keep waiting for one big sign, you might miss the smaller clues that point you toward your real interests. Sometimes, passion grows from doing something a little bit every day until you realize it's become a part of who you are. It's also important to remember that your passion doesn't have to look impressive to others. You don't have to turn it into a career or show it off online for it to be real. What matters is that it feels right for you and brings you a sense of joy or meaning, even on ordinary days. Purpose takes it one step further. It's the reason behind your actions, the bigger why, that keeps you going, even when things get tough. Purpose is what helps you get out of bed on difficult mornings, because you know your effort matters. For some people, purpose is about helping others. For others, it might be creating something new, or growing as a person, or just living honestly and kindly. If you're not sure where to start, try this exercise. Think of 3 times in your life when you felt proud, energized, or truly happy, even if nobody else noticed. What were you doing, and what was it about those moments that felt right? Look for patterns in your answers. Maybe you like creating, leading, listening, or teaching. These clues can point you toward both your passion and your purpose. Remember, you don't have to figure it all out right now. Your passion and purpose can change as you grow. The key is to keep listening to yourself and trusting your instincts instead of chasing trends or copying what seems popular. Research has shown that people who feel a strong sense of purpose are more resilient, healthier, and even live longer. They bounce back faster from setbacks and feel more satisfied with their lives, even if they aren't the richest or the most famous. Start small if you have to. Spend just 10 minutes a day doing something that interests you. Notice what gives you energy and what drains you. As you follow those sparks, your passion will grow and your purpose will become clearer. Don't be afraid if your dreams are different from everyone else's. That's a sign you're on the right track. The world doesn't need more copies, it needs more originals, people who are living with real passion and true purpose. In the next chapter, we'll explore how a positive mindset can shape your reality and why your thoughts matter more than you think. What you choose to focus on each day shapes the way you experience your entire life. It's easy to fall into the habit of expecting the worst or replaying negative thoughts in your mind, especially when you're surrounded by challenges or constant comparison. But the truth is, the way you think actually changes the way you feel and act, and that power is always in your hands. Norman Vincent Peale once said that positive thinking is more than just wishful optimism. It's a real tool for transforming your life from the inside out. When you make a habit of looking for the good in yourself and your situation, you start to notice opportunities instead of obstacles. Suddenly, things that used to seem impossible begin to feel just a little bit more within reach. Your mind is like a garden. If you fill it with weeds, meaning doubts, fears, and criticism, those weeds will grow and take over. But if you plant seeds of hope, gratitude, and belief, those seeds can grow into confidence and strength, even during tough times. Every positive thought is like watering that garden, giving it the energy to thrive. There are real studies backing this up. Researchers have found that people who focus on positive thoughts are more resilient, healthier, and even recover faster from setbacks. Positive thinking doesn't mean you ignore your problems or pretend that bad things don't exist. It means you face challenges with the belief that you can handle them and that something good can come out of every experience, even the tough ones. Imagine waking up and deciding to notice 3 good things about your day before you even get out of bed. Maybe it's the sound of birds outside, a cup of coffee, or just knowing you have another chance to try again. Over time, these little moments of gratitude add up, changing your mood and your mindset. Negative thinking, on the other hand, can become a trap. The more you tell yourself you can't do something or that you're not good enough, the more you start to believe it, and your actions follow those thoughts. You might not even try new things, just because your mind keeps repeating the same old story. If you want to shift your thinking, start by catching yourself when a negative thought shows up. Instead of letting it take over, pause and ask yourself, is this thought actually true? Or is it just a habit? Try to replace it with something more helpful, like I'm doing my best, or I can learn from this, or even I've made it through hard times before. Surround yourself with people, words, and music that lift you up. Fill your space with reminders of your strengths and the things you love. Even small actions, like putting a positive note on your mirror or listening to an uplifting song, can make a difference in your mood. Remember, positive thinking is not about denying reality. It's about choosing to see yourself and your future in a hopeful light, no matter what's happening around you. It's a skill you can practice, and the more you do it, the stronger that muscle gets. When you focus on what's possible instead of what's missing, you open the door to new experiences, new relationships, and a deeper sense of joy. Even on the toughest days, a positive mindset can help you find meaning and keep going. In the next part, you'll find out how to turn those positive thoughts into real actions, so your mindset and your goals can start working together to move you forward. You can have the most positive thoughts in the world, but nothing changes until you actually do something about them. Action is where dreams turn into real life, and it's the missing link that separates people who talk about change from those who actually make it happen. It's easy to get stuck planning, waiting for the perfect time, or doubting yourself because you're worried you might make a mistake. But the truth is, progress comes from movement, not from sitting still. Every small step counts, and often, the hardest part is just getting started. Take the story of Amelia Earhart. She didn't just dream of flying, she took bold action when very few women dared to even try. Her first flights were rough and full of mistakes, but she learned from every single one. Amelia didn't wait until she was completely ready. She trusted herself enough to take the leap, and her courage changed history. Think about times in your own life when you hesitated. Maybe you waited too long and missed out on an opportunity, or spent days overthinking a simple decision. Almost everyone has felt stuck like that at some point. The only way out is to start moving, even if your first step is small. Sometimes you'll make mistakes. That's normal. Mistakes are not a sign you should quit. They're proof that you're learning and growing. Every successful person you admire has a long list of failures behind their wins. The difference is, they kept moving forward anyway. Action doesn't always mean making huge changes overnight. It can be as simple as starting a conversation, applying for a job, practicing a new skill, or setting aside a few minutes each day to work on your goal. Consistency matters more than speed, and showing up for yourself, even on tough days, is what builds real confidence. You can boost your motivation by breaking big goals into tiny steps. If you want to write a book, start with 1 page a day. If you want to get fit, start with a 5-minute walk. Each step forward builds momentum, and as you see progress, your belief in yourself gets stronger. One trick is to set a do-it-now rule. If you think of something you know you need to do, count down from 5 and then start. Don't give your mind time to talk you out of it. Just begin. You'll be surprised how much you can accomplish when you stop waiting for the perfect moment. Celebrate your actions, no matter how small. Every single step forward is proof that you're in control of your life. Give yourself credit for showing up, trying again, and refusing to settle for less than what you know you deserve. If you ever start to doubt yourself, remember that nobody else has your exact strengths, dreams, or perspective. The world needs you to take action, not just for your own sake, but because your efforts and ideas might inspire someone else to move forward too. Now is always the right time to take the first step. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Each action, no matter how tiny, moves you closer to the life you want. Next, you'll hear a final perspective on escaping the comparison trap and why focusing on your own growth is the best gift you can give yourself. It's so easy to fall back into comparing your life with everyone around you, especially when reminders are everywhere. Maybe it's a neighbor's new car, a coworker's promotion, or friends posting another perfect day on social media. Even when you know it's just the highlight reel, those little twinges of envy or self-doubt can sneak up on you. That's the trap. Comparison always promises happiness, but it only steals your joy. What makes comparison so dangerous is that it's never a fair game. You only see a tiny slice of someone else's story, but you're painfully aware of every challenge, mistake, and tough moment in your own life. When you measure yourself against what's visible on the surface, it's no wonder you end up feeling behind or not good enough. Everyone struggles with this, even people who seem the most confident or successful. The truth is, the people you look up to have days when they question themselves too. They wonder if they're doing enough, if their work matters, or if someone else has it all figured out. You're never as alone as you might think in those moments of doubt. Comparison can also trick you into chasing things that were never meant for you. You might start following someone else's dreams, picking goals that look impressive but feel empty once you get there. The longer you play the comparison game, the harder it becomes to hear your own voice, and the easier it is to lose sight of what makes you unique. But here's a reminder you need to keep close. Your journey is yours alone. There is no single timeline for success or happiness, no perfect formula to follow, and no scoreboard keeping track of your worth. When you shift your attention from competing with others to growing your own skills, relationships, and confidence, everything changes. One powerful way to step out of the comparison trap is to measure your progress only against who you were yesterday. Did you learn something new, show kindness, or move a little closer to a goal that matters to you? That's the only race worth running. Your growth is personal, and every small step is a win, even if nobody else notices. If you catch yourself slipping back into comparison, pause and ask yourself, would I really trade my whole story for theirs? Most of the time, the answer is no. You'd miss out on all the moments, relationships, and lessons that have shaped who you are. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else's life. It needs you, just as you are, learning and growing in your own way. Focusing on your own path doesn't mean you never cheer for others. It just means you're busy building a life that fits you, not one that tries to fit in. Be patient with yourself and your progress. The biggest changes often happen quietly while nobody's watching. Celebrate your journey, every up and down, every twist and turn. It's yours, and that's what makes it valuable. When you stop chasing someone else's version of success and start living for your own growth, you find the kind of freedom and happiness that comparison can never give you. Coming up, you'll hear one last message to tie all these ideas together so you can walk away with real tools and a sense of peace about your own journey. There comes a point where you realize you have a choice. You can keep giving away your energy, your confidence, and your time by focusing on everyone else, or you can decide to bring it all back home to yourself. That moment, when you truly choose yourself, is the beginning of everything you've ever wanted. Think about it. Every big achievement, every breakthrough, every story of transformation starts with someone deciding that their own growth, happiness, and peace of mind matter most. They stop looking sideways and finally look inward. They get quiet enough to hear their own voice, strong enough to trust it, and brave enough to follow it, even when the path isn't clear. For some, this moment comes after a big failure or disappointment. Maybe you've reached a breaking point where trying to keep up with others is just too exhausting. For others, it sneaks up quietly in the small decision to say no to something that doesn't fit, or yes to a new challenge that scares you a little. Either way, it's a turning point that changes the direction of your life. This isn't just about one big choice, but 100 small ones. Every time you choose to do something for your own growth rather than for approval or competition, you take back your power. You become the author of your story. You start seeing your own strengths and your own progress, and those things start to matter more than any number of likes or outside opinions. Think about the person you want to be in a year, 5 years, or 10 years. What if that version of you is just waiting for you to take the first step, to stop looking for validation outside, and to start building the life you actually want? What if everything you're searching for, confidence, peace, fulfillment, has been within your reach all along, just waiting for you to look in the right direction? The world will always have distractions, comparisons, and outside voices trying to tell you who to be. But when you decide to focus on your own path, you start to see opportunities that were invisible before. You notice your own progress, celebrate your own wins, and even the setbacks start to feel like part of a much bigger story. This is the moment when everything can change, if you let it. You can finally put down the burden of comparison, step into your own light, and trust that you are enough, just as you are, right now. The only permission you need is your own. The only path you need to follow is the one that feels true to you. Every step you take for yourself is a victory that no one can take away. In just a moment, you'll get a simple summary and a final reminder you can carry with you whenever you feel tempted to look sideways again. You've heard a lot today about comparison, self-awareness, resilience, and what it means to focus on your own life. It all comes down to one simple truth: the only person you need to impress is the person you see in the mirror. All the energy you've spent chasing someone else's dreams, doubting your own path, or waiting for outside approval can finally be used for something better: building a life that's yours. Every step you take away from comparison is a step toward more happiness and peace. When you pay attention to your own growth, you start to see how far you've come, not just how far you have left to go. Your small wins, your daily choices, and the way you bounce back from setbacks are all worth celebrating, even if nobody else sees them. It's okay to admire others, to cheer for friends, or be inspired by stories of success. But the most important story is the one you're writing every day with your own actions, habits, and choices. Every time you trust yourself, set a goal that matters to you, or take a risk that feels right, you're building confidence that lasts. You'll still have days when you feel behind or get stuck in the comparison trap. That's just part of being human. The key is to notice when it happens, pause, and gently remind yourself that you're on your own journey. You're allowed to move at your own pace, change directions, and grow in your own way. Remember, your value isn't measured by likes, followers, or other people's opinions. It's measured by your courage to show up as yourself, even when nobody's watching. The world needs your real story, not another copy of someone else's. So as you go forward, keep your focus on what matters to you. Trust the small steps, celebrate the little victories, and stay open to learning from your own experiences. You are the only one who can live your life, and you're more than enough just as you are. In a moment, you'll have the chance to keep building on this journey with one more video that can help you take the next step toward a happier, more confident you. If this video helped you see things in a new way, hit the like button so more people can find it too. Share it with someone who might need a reminder to focus on themselves, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos just like this. Now, click on the next video and let's keep moving forward together, one step at a time.